Today on the podcast, I want to talk to you about what to do as an entrepreneur when things just aren't working. We're going to talk about some key areas that I encourage you to reassess to see what is working and what's not so you can pivot your way to a six-figure business. Welcome back to the Brandmerry Podcast. In episode 92, I gave you a step-by-step breakdown to launch your business in just 90 days. The feedback from that was amazing. Y'all loved it. If you are just getting started as an entrepreneur, I highly recommend that you check out that episode, whether you listen to it on your favorite platform or you watch the video over on YouTube. Today, I want to take a different approach for entrepreneurs and talk about hitting your first six figures in business. Now, today's episode is really for you if you've been doing the things. You feel like you have the foundation set, you've been showing up, creating content, marketing, talking about your offers. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit more. But you're just not seeing the traction that you want to see. Now, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs who are at this stage. I still consider them new entrepreneurs because they're not consistently hitting the revenue that they desire. So whether you find yourself trying to consistently hit 3K months or you're really wanting to hit that six-figure year in the next 12 months, we're going to break down where I would put your time and energy because things might be working, but there might be these small pieces that you really need to go back to the drawing board or reassess the data to figure out, am I just doing things and showing up to show up, or am I actually progressing my business forward? Again, this is something I love doing as a strategist. In fact, it's one of the things we found my program Roadmap to Freedom to be incredibly beneficial for. We have a lot of entrepreneurs inside of Roadmap to Freedom who are just getting started and they just want the step-by-step roadmap, tell me how to boop, 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 get it done and get my business launched. But we have a lot, and I mean probably at 70% of the entrepreneurs who join us inside of Roadmap to Freedom already feel like they have these foundations set up, but they're just not seeing the results. And that's when, although you're not gonna love what I'm about to say to you, we have to go back to some of those foundational pieces because most likely steps were skipped. Whether you enrolled in a program and they just missed the fundamentals of branding altogether and just threw you to the wolves of marketing, or you DIY'd it yourself, there are a lot of micro steps required to building a business, but especially a six-figure business. And as someone who hit her first six figures in the first year and has continued to hit and excel past the six-figure, the 100K mark for 7 years in a row, I know a thing or two about this topic, okay? So even though you're not gonna love it, if I sit here and I tell you, you might have to go back to the drawing board in some areas, I promise you that if you take a little bit of time to fix that one little bitty thing, or even two or three things, you're going to see your business take off. So let's talk about the three kind of areas that I always like to group our business actions into. So number one is going to be your brand awareness, right? People need to be discovering your brand on a regular basis. That is at the very, very top of the funnel. The second part is going to be the brand attraction. Once someone now knows about your brand, they're ready to take that next step, which is either following you on a platform, subscribing, but more importantly, subscribing to your email list. We really want people to get into your inner circle to say yes to either a really low priced offer or freebie. I tend to gravitate towards freebies and start to learn more about you, and you're starting to build trust via this. Then we also have the brand connection phase, which is they have felt that connection, an offer aligns, and they are ready to take action. You can probably see that if you are hitting all three of those marks weekly, preferably daily, once you embrace some evergreen marketing strategies, then you're always going to have new people discovering you. You're always going to be growing your inner circle or your email list, and you're always going to be making sales. It does get to be that simple. Now, here's where the micro steps come into play. How do we do each of those things? Well, the good news is that there are a million ways to do each of those things. And you've probably discovered that. One person online is saying, you need to build your list this way. And one person online is saying, don't offer freebies, sell something for $7. And somebody else is saying webinars are dead. And somebody else says high price ticket offers are dead. Courses are the only way. And then someone else says courses are dead. Look, you have to decide what is right for you and your business. I am always experimenting. I am seriously always willing to try something new as a business owner, as long as it is authentically aligned to me and my values, because I don't know what I don't know. And I don't know how my audience is going to react and how they might like something a year ago and it might not be as important now, today. So it's really important that you are kind of experimenting with the way you show up and the type of offers that you create, especially if you're at this stage where you're just not making that forward movement that you would like to see. Now, there are 1,000,001 ways to market. I say that a lot. So we've got to find the one that's right for you. And I have a lot of resources over on the Brandmerry blog that help you with that. I talk a lot about evergreen content, and inside of my program Roadmap to Freedom, I individually help my members assess which marketing platforms and kind of rhythm make sense for them, their lifestyle, and their goals. But what I want to offer you right now is, how do you pinpoint what isn't working so you can start to make those shifts? So the very first thing that I always look at with entrepreneurs is their lead generation. Are you getting people onto your website, onto your email list every single day? And if you're not, what's going on there, right? There could be a few things coming up for you. One, you literally have no lead generation in place. I see this a lot. Maybe you got started with one-on-one, you had a lot of connections, you were really great at networking, you just kind of took off for one-on-one work, and then suddenly it just dried up. And you don't have these continuous leads coming in like we talked about at the brand attraction stage. Now, we talk about leads a lot in the entrepreneur space, and I think it's really important to kind of share that there are two sides to leads. One of them are like leads onto your email list. These are people who are interested in your brand. They might not know about your offer or your service yet, but they're interested in your brand. You most likely speak to a pain point or solve a problem that they are looking to solve. Then we have like hot leads who know about your offer, who have been in your circle and are inquiring about your services. Right now, what I'm really focused on in communicating with you are those first leads, the people who are saying yes to you and your brand and discovering more to see if they're the right fit for what you offer. Now, again, if you don't have these leads coming in, this is the first place that I recommend entrepreneurs start. So, do you have a way to collect email addresses? Hopefully the answer is yes, but I guarantee you, some of you listening right now, the answer is no. Do you have a way to collect email addresses on your website, on your social media platforms, if that's where you're showing up? If you're creating YouTube videos, do you have a lead magnet in the description? Do you have a way for someone to take action, to get more information from you once you've piqued their interest? It's incredibly important. And I am not just speaking about having a box on your website that says, join my newsletter. It's not enough. We haven't given them enough information and we haven't pre-qualified them. We want these leads on your email list to be great fits for your brand and your business, your products and your service. A simple newsletter doesn't do that, but offering a very targeted lead magnet, a training, a PDF download, a workbook, a coupon code, a quiz result, that kind of thing, where they have to give their email address in exchange for something from you, is going to pre-qualify those leads, and you're going to experience better conversions overall. So that's, again, the very first place that I start, because many of you are showing up online, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. You are showing up online, but that's not enough. We have to give people the next step, and we have to make sure that these leads are coming in consistently. I really want to see it every day. Even if it's just one person every day joining your list, that is fantastic. But even if you average so much a week, that's all right as well. So once you've assessed whether or not you have the lead magnet in place, and maybe you do, now it's time to kind of be honest with yourself and say, how many people actually know that I have this? If you are showing up on social media, are you talking about this regularly? Are you experimenting with the way that you talk about it? Like, I'm talking every single post that you put online, especially if you're on social media, has a CTA or a PS or something about your lead magnet. Comment below. Get this. When you are in those beginning stages and you are needing to grow that audience, you can't be afraid of telling people about it all the time. Repetition is the key. Absolutely is the key to standout marketing. And so you can't be afraid to repeat this free gift and tell people about it. Another thing to start to think about is, do you have a way for people to discover you on Evergreen? Now, this ties a little bit into the brand awareness part, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. But one of the key ways to get consistent leads in your business, even when you aren't posting content, is to have these evergreen platforms in place. So if you are at a stage where you are ready to hit that 6-figure mark, you've been doing the work, and you don't have an evergreen marketing strategy in place, it is time. Talk about elevating the entire experience. Talk about giving you more of your time and energy back. That's exactly what this does. I run my entire business via evergreen marketing strategies. They are the core, the foundation. This looks like YouTube content, which obviously YouTube is a search engine, and that content lasts for years. Blogging, utilizing searches on Google. We've got even Pinterest. Pinterest in connection with those things, are just Pinterest on its own now that it has short form video content. And podcasting. Podcasting is a fantastic evergreen platform as well. And it's even better when you combine it with blogs on your website, meaning you transcribe the podcast. So there are so many different ways that you can really elevate your marketing by just embracing one of these evergreen strategies. And the reason that it is time to do that is because what that allows you to do is consistently get in front of new people via these search engines without having to post daily. And so as people are discovering your content, they're then getting onto your email list, right? If they're on your website, they're subscribing to your free lead magnet. If they're on Pinterest, they're clicking through to your website or to YouTube, watching a video, so on and so forth. This really is the sweet spot. I know it can be so tempting to just build your entire business on social media, and I know a lot of people that is working for. But I wonder if one day they stopped or they got burnt out, what would happen in their business? And I know from my own experience that when I want to step away from creating new content, I'm able to do that and still get leads and still make money in my business. And that's what I want for you as well. So if you're craving this 6-figure number or whatever that number is for you, this is the next step. And you really need to take it sooner rather than later, because these evergreen platforms do take a little bit of time to optimize. And honestly, that's why a lot of people give up, because after 30 days, they're like, oh, well, nothing's working. Well, I've posted videos that took 6 months to take off, and then suddenly I'm getting leads and sales from my branding course from this one video that I posted 6 months ago. That is the power, but you've got to have a little bit of patience. So now that we've talked a little bit about the lead generation, that brand attraction phase, let's continue the conversation on marketing and talk about brand awareness. The top question that I like to ask entrepreneurs who come to me at this stage is, how consistent are you in showing up online? Consistency matters. I mean, you need to really be dialing it up if you're wanting to dial up your goals, okay? If what you're doing in terms of consistency is here and you're getting this, and now you want this has to change too, right? We've got to dial it up a bit. And oftentimes, I actually find that the consistency isn't there. And this is something you're going to have to be honest with yourself on this. How often Are you creating content and putting that content out in the world? Are you consistent with that? Did you say that you were going to blog and then you were going to put that blog out on Pinterest? And how often are you doing that? Is that happening? Do you say that let's use social media as an example, right? Why not? I want to start on social media. I'm going to take off on TikTok, right? Are you posting every single day? Because that's what the platform requires. It's so important to understand what is required on that specific platform in order for that platform to work for you. And that either is going to determine whether you show up there at all, right? If that consistency doesn't work for you, then that's probably not the platform for you. So we need to find you another platform. But if you are committing to that platform and you're completely ignoring what consistency looks like on that platform, then don't be surprised when you're missing the mark. Don't be surprised when things aren't happening. And this goes back to that patience thing. There is power in patience. There is power in giving yourself 30 days to post every single day or multiple times a day on a social media platform to make the algorithm happy. YouTube, once a week, making sure that your content is optimized. Same with your blog. And again, another thing to think about is if you are finding that you are consistent, you're doing a great job showing up and creating that content, kudos to you. How do we elevate it? We need to make sure that it's actually working on that platform. Are we following best practices on that specific platform? Pinterest is a great example. I have a lot of clients who come to me and they say, well, I am posting on Pinterest. I'm posting my blog once a week. That ain't going to cut it on Pinterest. No, we need to be creating content, pins specifically, and posting preferably once a day, sometimes 2 a day. It just kind of depends. And how do we do that? We make sure that the content is optimized for that platform. So again, when you're at this place where you're putting in the time and the energy, you've got a rhythm going, but you aren't seeing the return on your investment, right, into your business, we really need to assess these little micro pieces, because one little shift in optimizing your content on Pinterest and doing what that platform wants you to do could result in thousands of leads to your website every single month for free. So it's incredibly important to really ask yourself, am I consistently showing up on that specific platform or platforms that I've determined where I want to go? And B, if I am consistently showing up, then am I following the best practices for that platform and really optimizing my content for that platform so it gets seen and discovered by new people every single day? If you're creating content right now, I love that. You should be creating content right now. And chances are it's probably working for your existing warm audience. And yes, that's an element of content creation. We want to nurture our existing audience, email our list, build that trust. But your content should also be getting discovered by new people every single day. And that's something that we really want to think about when it comes to our marketing practices. Okay. The third thing that I want you to think about is that brand connection phase. So the brand connection phase is when the sales are coming in, right? And there are 2 areas here that I really want you to assess. Number 1 is going to be, how often are you talking about your offer? When is the last time that you talked about your offer? Think about that. Has it been a few days? Because we need to be doing it pretty regularly. Now, obviously, it depends on the offer that you've created. If you're launching, obviously, that's going to be like a specific time period. But I'm referring more to like your core offer, something that's always available for someone to enroll in, a course, a membership, a one-on-one type of package, a shop that you have. You've got to let people know that it's available to them. Now, one of the best ways to do that, to make sure everyone on your email list knows about your core offer, is to build an email funnel around that. So the second that they join your email list, they're then getting all of these promotional emails about that offer. Everyone knows that you've got that. Check. That's a really passive way to take care of that. However, you also need to be talking about it quite frequently. And so I prefer to talk about my one-to-one, when I'm like have one-on-one spots available, I will just talk about it in my Instagram stories. I'll talk about it in an email. I'll make sure that it's front and center on my website, that there's a banner that I'm accepting, one-to-one clients. I'll send out a few emails, and it always pays off, okay? It depends on what you're offering, obviously, and the price point and the protocol, but 9 times out of 10, people don't talk about their offer enough. If you're trying to fill that spot, I need to know that A, it's something that you offer, and B, if it's the right fit for me. Which brings me to the second part of this. Are you positioning your offer in the best possible way? Meaning, am I super clear on what problem it would solve for me as the consumer? And also, am I super clear on what it's going to provide me as the consumer? So there's always the problem, right? What is the problem that your audience is experiencing? What is the problem that your offer is going to solve? My program, Roadmap to Freedom, the problem it solves is that entrepreneurs don't have a clear step-by-step framework to build their profitable business. They're missing steps. They're skipping steps. And as a result, they continuously spin their wheels. So I've created a program that breaks it down step by step. Proven, right? Because we've used it for hundreds of entrepreneurs, and it was a model I created after my own success. It's a proven strategy to solve this problem. Then it's my job to share the benefits. So when you invest in this program, you will achieve. And really understanding, what does your ideal customer want more than anything? There are 2 areas for benefits. There is the lower area, which I say like the low-hanging fruit, which are the things that are the everyday type of things. Like, I just want a little bit more time in my schedule so that I can relax. I want to be able to sign 3 clients every single month, right? But then there's these big picture drivers that really motivate people, like traveling the world, having more time and freedom to be with their family, to create a business that allows them to, feel financially stable. And it's important and your job to understand what those are for your ideal customer and communicate those clearly. This is the area I would say most entrepreneurs struggle, and it's all in the messaging. You might know, but if you can't clearly communicate to your ideal customer what the problem is that you're solving for them and what the core benefits are, that once they do this, they will have X, Y, and Z, then yes, you're going to struggle to sell. You're going to struggle to have people reach out because it's not clear to them and they're not going to take that next step. Messaging work is something that I do in all of my programs, but we spend a lot of time and energy and customization inside of my program, Roadmap to Freedom. And it's one of those things where you actually get my hands-on support inside of that program. Now, the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to selling is actually your conversion rate. So I call this authentic selling. It's something that I teach inside of R2F. And the theory is that yes, I want you to get a lot of people on the phone with you, inquiring about your services, having a Zoom call, submitting an application, whatever that looks like for you. That's the goal. We need to get those, we need to dial that up if that's not happening. But once that starts happening consistently, then it's all about getting better at closing the sale authentically. Because constantly focusing on having 10 phone calls every single week to sign a client is not sustainable. We want to get it so that whole sales process, that sales page, the testimonials that you have, the conversation that you're having via email rather than a Zoom call converts and converts quickly. Now, this is one of the things that I have become really, really good at. I do not get on the phone with new prospects. I have an application and we correspond via email. And many of these prospects find me from a simple Google search or discovering my content on YouTube or Pinterest. Very rarely do they discover me on social media, but it does happen. And these individuals come to me and via an email exchange, supporting them, they're paying in full. $6,000, $8,000, $10,000. That's because I've really mastered the conversion process. And I do it in a way that is really authentic to me and supporting them at the highest level. even if I don't get on the phone. And I'm sure as we're wrapping up this episode, you've realized that this is a full circle moment. All of that stuff that you're doing prior to the sales conversation is actually part of the sales process. People finding you, the type of content that you're creating, the messaging, the gifts that you're giving, the value that you're providing, how clear you are in articulating and talking about your problem that you solve and the benefits of your program, how you support them and answer questions. It's all happening. But these are the little things that I want you to be really honest with yourself on. Are you missing the mark on some of these pieces? And look, no shade whatsoever. I too will slip up from time to time and have to go back and say, something feels off. What am I doing? Right? Am I really articulating the promise? Am I really talking about the problem that my audience is facing? When's the last time I talked about my offer? I mean, I think I did this last year. I was like, no one's buying, no one's booking one-on-one with me. It seems so weird. And then I was like, when's the last time I talked about it? I sent 2 emails and I sold out my entire one-on-one for 6 months. I was full. I had 8 clients. And so I go through this as well. And it's really important to hold yourself accountable and be honest with yourself. I know it can be hard. You're like, I've already done that work. I already did the messaging work. I already did the ideal customer work. Michelle, I've got the website. I've got these things. But if they're not working, they're not working. And we need to figure out why so that you can fix them. And I've given you a lot of really great starting places. And I hope that you take this episode and listen to it again and dissect what's happening in your business. But if you are looking for this strategic support, it is something that I offer inside of my program, Roadmap to Freedom. And doors are opening next week. So stay tuned for that. If you're on my email list, that's where you're going to get all the information regarding Roadmap to Freedom. But my guess is if you're still here, if you're still listening to this podcast episode, watching it on YouTube, it's the right fit for you. So take this moment to make a mental note and look for that, because we have had entrepreneurs, again, who are coming in who maybe aren't new. They've been doing it for a while, but they're just not getting the results that they want. And this will allow us to pinpoint what isn't working so we can make those pivots, and you can pivot your way to 6 figures, because that's what I want for you. Thank you again for joining me for this episode. I hope that this was incredibly helpful for you. And again, if you listen to this whole episode because you are just a fan and I love you, but you feel like you're a little bit more entry level, definitely listen to episode 92 where I break down the whole launch your business process, because I think that's going to be incredibly helpful. And then bookmark this for later. All right, I'll catch you again for another episode next week. Again, doors are opening for Roadmap to Freedom very, very soon, as in next Tuesday. So be sure to take a mental note. Make sure you're on my email list. Go to brandmerry.com to get on my email list if you're not already, and we'll be sending details to your inbox really, really soon. Bye.